Is James Harden going to the Brooklyn Nets? Are the New York Knicks once again going to trade all their young assets to move up in the draft? Welcome back to Ballaholics, the show for those who simply can't get enough of basketball. I'm Sam, along with my co-host Ian Mills. Ian, go up a little bit. Show everyone what you got. Show everyone what you're wearing today.
I guess doing big Bills game today against the Cardinals in about a half hour. I mean, the game will probably be over by the time this airs, but huge game. Time to go 8-2. Best start of my lifetime for sure. Very excited. Big season for the Bills. Great NFL season so far. Honestly.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. We still got some more games in the regular season. Maybe my beloved Jets, my beloved Giants, my New York teams, my actual New York teams will come through. So we'll see what happens.
Actual New York. They play New Jersey.
Oh yeah, upstate New York, Buffalo Bills. They're New York here, New York there, whatever. Anyway, let's just talk about the NBA right now. Obviously, Ian, we have a major problem in Houston. Russell Westbrook, according to Shams, wants out. Now there are also rumors that James Harden might also be seeking out a trade later on. Obviously, Daryl Morey is no longer in Houston, and once he left, everything started spiraling out of control. Ian, what are your quick reactions to what's going on in Houston right now?
Well, it's interesting because obviously you have Daryl Morey out and a new head coach in Houston. It seems as if they're on the path to kind of rebuild, to tank, and whether or not that'll actually occur, I'm not exactly sure, but it is interesting that really a team that for the past 5 years or so have consistently been contenders, never really taken, I guess, all too seriously, just because it's the Warriors' reign of terror and then obviously the Lakers this year. But it is interesting to see, how a team can really go from consistently year in, year out contender to a team that's going to sell two of the better players in the NBA. I think Russell Westbrook honestly just wants to be on a team kind of like the Thunder where he can just kind of do whatever he wants and maybe make the playoffs and put up numbers. I think that's what he's better at doing than he is on like a contender team. We saw this year he, struggled not just defensively, but being in a role where he is not the focal point. I just don't think it's a strong suit. I don't think, he'll ever be the best player on a championship team. I don't think he's not good enough for that. So, I don't blame him for wanting out. I think the Rockets will probably keep one or two. It's hard to get rid of, two superstars like that. And just get a haul of picks might be worth it. But I don't know what teams really want to take on Westbrook's salary going into these years, especially because he's shown that he's not probably the player to carry a team into the playoffs.
It's so funny that you say that they're going to keep one of the two. I think it's the exact opposite. If they trade one, they will trade the other. And I firmly believe that Westbrook will get traded. And based on the rumors that I'm hearing, obviously Kendrick Perkins went on the jump saying that he believes that Westbrook will be traded and that James Harden will follow suit. And it's crazy to say that because James Harden apparently has not been answering phone calls. And the Houston Rockets have been one of the most winningest teams. Again, I don't know if that's a word, winningest, but I'm making it up anyway. One of the most winningest teams in the past decade, even though they haven't won a championship. They got so close to throwing the Kevin Durant Golden State Warriors. And this Houston Rockets team, has really been one of the best teams in the NBA in the last decade. It's shocking to see what's transpiring right now. But at the same time, once Daryl Morey got fired, let's not forget the relationship that Daryl Morey and James Harden have with each other. Daryl Morey, under Daryl Morey's tenure, he traded for James Harden in 2012. And ever since he did that, they have made the playoffs every single season. I believe it's 8 straight seasons. Also, James Harden has been an all-star 8 straight seasons. 6-time All-NBA first team. In the past 3 years, every single season has been a scoring champion. One of the seasons, I think in 2018, James Harden averaged 36 points. Those are like MJ numbers. MJ, I believe, he had like 37 points in one of his best years. So James Harden obviously has cemented himself under Daryl Morey as one of the best shooting guards to play the game. So now that Daryl Morey left, I feel like, and this is me personally, this is like my intuition. I don't have any evidence. I'm inferring. I don't think that James Harden was a big fan of Terrell Fertitta, getting rid of Daryl Morey because obviously we know that Daryl Morey technically resigned, but I think it's a little suspicious, Ian, because it's weird because as soon as Daryl Morey resigns, they say, oh yeah, he's gonna go talk to his kids. He wants a break from basketball. The next week he goes right to Philadelphia. Look, I think there could be something to do with China possibly. And obviously, the Houston Rockets, one of the, I'm just saying, the Houston Rockets, before Daryl Morey's comments, one of the most popular teams in China. I do believe Fertitta could have been in trouble with China. That could have led to more pressure on Daryl Morey winning. He did not win. I'm not saying that's why he got fired because of China, but he also wasn't winning in terms of winning a title. Led to the firing, and then management and the players were not on the same exact page. That could have led to James Harden being upset and Russell Westbrook wanting out.
Well, yeah, and also to be fair, I mean, the Rockets were in cap hell, and they really don't have draft picks, no high draft picks either. So for Daryl Morey, it makes sense why he would want out. Whether it was his own decision or not, I'm not sure, but it totally makes sense, thinking that they're on a team that really has no future with two superstars that really seems like they don't really want to play for the team. So, whether it was the China, conspiracy where the NBA was basically forcing Morey out as if they as if he's Sam Hinkie. But
I don't think that it was the NBA that forced him out. I think actually like the NBA didn't do that. I think that Fertitta himself, the owner, wanted to do that. Because at that point, like, if you had that conspiracy theory, then why is Daryl Morey back in now as a president of basketball operations for the 76ers?
Well, I mean, it's a lesser role. We'll see. It could. I don't know.
He's president. He's president of basketball operations. They brought
right, but I'm just saying that's like when you look at it, like he's not going to be. No one's going to think of Sam. Or not. I think it's Sam Hinkie. I just want to talk about trust the process.
That's the process back in the day.
Yeah. But I think Daryl Morey, he'll basically be doing the same job, but with lesser press around him. So I think, it could be one of those things where they're just like, all right, keep him out of the spotlight. He has his book, Morey Ball, based on Moneyball. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but he also was basically left the Rockets in dire straits where they pretty much have nothing to do except trade away two players with awful contracts. So we'll see.
How was the book? Ian, how was the book Moneyball?
Morey Ball or Moneyball? Moneyball is a great movie.
You said Moneyball. Moneyball. I know you said money, and I know you like investing. You like these sports bets, so I'm thinking maybe there's a correlation with like the Morey betting and Ian betting his life savings on games.
You've never heard of Moneyball?
No, I have not.
Have you heard of Moneyball?
No, I haven't until now. You've
never seen the movie?
To the book.
You've never seen the movie Moneyball, Brad Pitt?
I have not.
You got to watch it.
All right, don't expose me. Don't expose me.
I'm just saying it's a great movie. But yeah, no. But Daryl Morey wrote a book called Morey Ball, basically parodying it about his own life. Kind of weird, but whatever. Yeah, I think the Rockets are in dire straits at this point. They got to get rid of someone. Even if they keep their core team, they're not going to. I feel like they're almost like they can't win with this team. They're not going to win a title with this team, so they might as well just throw it all away.
Yeah, and just going off what I said before, it's not all Daryl Morey. Obviously, why there's a divide. I know that you guys may think that that's why they want to get traded. That's one aspect of it. But I would also say even when Mike D'Antoni was in, there were complaints from other players, like role players. I remember reading on Houston Chronicles, there were reports with Austin Rivers being unhappy with his role. There were reports about PJ Tucker being irritated about not getting a contract extension at a certain time and being insulted by the Houston Rockets. So there was, and Eric Gordon, of course, also had a problem with his role. So it wasn't just the stars with Westbrook and Harden, but then these role players. And once the entire team, once all these reports come spiraling out, it's one on top of the other and one on top of the other. It's a major problem in Houston. And I don't know what's going to happen there. I think it's going to get blown up. It's upsetting too because I really wanted to see James Harden finish his career in Houston because he reminded me of one of those players that were like, you stay with a team your entire career. I know he was with OKC, but like in terms of like where he started to thrive and where he started to make a name for himself, it would have been nice to see him finish his career in Houston.
Yeah, no, he could have been like one of those Allen Iverson figures, after he retires, where we're like, wow, we didn't appreciate his greatness at the time, stuff like that. So we'll see. But I think it's possible he doesn't get traded, and they're just not good.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I definitely think Russell Westbrook is going to get traded. And I guess we'll see what happens. But, Ian, if you had to choose right now in terms of a trade destination for Westbrook, what are some viable trade destinations where you would believe that Westbrook would thrive?
Well, thrive, I don't know that he'll thrive anywhere, honestly. I think Charlotte obviously is a team that's been thrown out. And I get that. I think that's a team that's close enough to what the Thunder were a couple years ago, where he might make the playoffs as like a 7 seed, averaging a triple-double, averaging like 35 points a game. I could see him doing that. I don't see him ever going to a team, as I've said before, I don't see him going to a team and being the number one option on a championship team. I just think his play style, especially now, is just not built for that. I think he would definitely do better in the East, where if you look at the East, I mean, really, obviously the Nets are looking, at least this year, like they probably are the favorite, but it does seem like it's a bit open. You know, there's not really one team that is the contender, I believe. As we saw as the Bucks, we thought they were them. I thought they were the number one contenders, and obviously losing in the second round. So it is interesting. I would think that, you know, probably needs to be a team that can actually afford his contract. Really seems like it's probably going to be a team like the Hornets. Maybe the Pistons give up Blake Griffin. I doubt it, but I really do think it'll be the Hornets.
And I just don't see a purpose in any of those teams, though. Like, why would the Hornets want him? And I also just want to say quickly, before I say what teams –
ticket sales.
Yeah, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win a title, and you get more ticket sales. If you're in a small market team, you need to have an actual contender. And, I guess I see that reasoning, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah. I don't think the Hornets will ever be a contender.
Yeah. I mean, if I have to – look, before I start off by naming teams where I think he can go, I want to name teams and places where – I don't think he should go. And the Hornets is one of them, obviously. I think also the Milwaukee Bucks, although they look intriguing, I don't believe that him and Giannis would work because they're not perimeter shot players and they don't shoot from the perimeter. And I think that Giannis, if you're going to pair him up with a second superstar, he needs to have someone who operates from the perimeter, who's more of a triple threat. So I don't see him ultimately going to Milwaukee. Also, of course, there are rumors with my beloved Knicks. Please, New York Knicks, do not trade for Westbrook. You are not trying to compete for a championship. Don't trade RJ Barrett. Don't trade Mr. Robinson. Don't trade them for Westbrook. Don't trade them for Harden. Don't trade them for a top draft pick or whatever. Please don't do it, New York, or I will actually go on the show and I might have to actually excommunicate the New York Knicks and stop being a fan once and for all. Okay, Ian? I had enough of that. Had enough of that. Anyway, in terms of a place where I could see Russell Westbrook thrive, though, I would look at the Clippers, for example. I think that there are rumors obviously circulating that he can get traded for Paul George, and obviously there would be other maybe picks and players included with Paul George or maybe with Russell Westbrook. But I believe that him and Kawhi, like Russell Westbrook, the problem with Paul George right now in Los Angeles is he lost the respect of the role players, I feel like, right now. He lost the respect of the locker room. Like Pat Beverly, Montrezl Harrell, they all believe that Doc Rivers didn't hold Paul George accountable last year. And while Kawhi Leonard rised up on the occasions in the playoffs at times, not Game 7, Paul George was never there in the playoffs. So he lost the respect there. So you trade in for Russell Westbrook. Obviously, Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverly, they have their beef. But I think that they're both hard workers. And I think that he would gain the respect of that locker room. And he'd be a good second option, not number one option, with Kawhi Leonard. I also want to say, besides the Clippers, I think the Miami Heat are an amazing destination for Russell Westbrook because if you look at both of their outlooks on the game, the Miami Heat, they are dogs. They are hard workers, and they're dogs that actually bite, unlike the Clippers last year. You know, I had to throw a slate against the Clippers. But Russell Westbrook, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, you could probably trade some of those young players. I love Tyler Hero, I do. But he might have to go. Someone like a Duncan Robinson might have to go. Someone like a Gordon Dragic might have to go. Because if you're able to bring in Russell Westbrook, pair him up with Jimmy Butler, and then you can keep one or two of those shooters in Miami, I think you have a contender there as well. So I would say the Heat and the Clippers are my top two teams for Westbrook.
Yeah, I mean, really it's just the salary and whether these teams are going to want to take that contract on. And I think the Clippers probably want to go for a different superstar rather than Russell Westbrook. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know how big of an upgrade Russell Westbrook is over Paul George. And then on the Heat, yeah, if you really are in win now mode, Russell Westbrook is probably the right move. But again, the salary, I don't know if you want to sell the farm for a season.
They just made the NBA Finals, Ian. Why, why not?
I'm just saying, why? Yeah, well, why would you sell the farm? Why would you sell Tyler Hero, your future, your young core for, a year with aging Jimmy Butler and Goran Dragic?
The problem is Tyler. I love Tyler Hero. I do. Don't get me wrong, but being in Miami helps his game. Like, he's in a system right now. He's thriving in Miami, but he's in a system of Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley. So I'm just saying, like, Tyler Hero is a good talent, but in a way, he can be replaced to a smaller extent. Russell Westbrook's talent cannot be replaced, and Russell Westbrook hasn't really been under the correct management for his game. And that's the problem, because he wasn't really held accountable in OKC. He wasn't really held accountable in Houston. And if he goes to Miami, he's playing under a competent coach in Eric Spoelstra who can actually get the best out of Russell Westbrook, out of his talents. And I believe that his dog mentality with Jimmy Butler would elevate that team because they lack star power right now.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
It's interesting where everything will shake out.
Also, I need to say, with James Harden, I think the Brooklyn Nets are like the worst destination for him, on the record. Worst destination for him. I get Kyrie Irving. I get James Harden. I get Kevin Durant. 3 of the best scorers in the NBA. You know, some of the best scorers in the NBA. There's only one ball in. So I don't really see that fit working out in Brooklyn if Harden goes there. For Harden, I would say Philadelphia, if anything. You traded for Ben Simmons. And then obviously Ben Simmons, you get a little more back from Philadelphia. But I believe Philadelphia, not the Brooklyn Nets, would be the best team for James Harden to get traded to in that Atlantic Eastern, you know.
Yeah, I think it'll come down to how the contracts shake out more than anything. So you know, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm just praying for my friend Yost, you know, Houston fan. I'm sorry, Yost. It had to happen. James Harden's getting traded. It's looking very, very dark in Houston right now. But you know, you never know. Maybe everything will work out. Maybe they'll just play and be okay. Let's go on to our next segment. Let's just fly away from Houston. You know, let's blast off now to the NBA draft. Obviously, it's in a couple days from now. Ian, I want to hear some major predictions, or it doesn't have to be major, but I want to hear some predictions. If they're major, it's a bonus. Let's hear it.
All right. So in the NBA draft, obviously coming up, we have the Timberwolves with the first overall pick. I think they're gonna keep the pick. I don't think they're gonna trade this number 1 overall pick. I think they probably go with what most experts think is gonna be LaMelo Ball at number 1, right? I think that's kind of, at this point, it seems like almost a guarantee he goes first. Maybe not entirely guaranteed, but it seems pretty likely. I think Golden State is going to trade their pick. I don't know who, but I think they're going to trade, maybe package the number 2 overall pick and Draymond Green for some type of third option. And you know, depending on where Wiggins shakes out. But I think the Warriors are going to trade their pick and instead of drafting Anthony Edwards, go for someone they can win with right now. Which, you know, I kind of am excited. Like the draft night, I feel like these trades are going to come in pretty rapid fire. So, you know, for me, I think it'll go LaMelo, then Anthony Edwards, depending on whoever picks number 2. But listen to me right now. You know the name Isaiah Stewart?
I don't.
No,
I don't.
You don't know that. He was the number 5. He was number 5 player in the nation coming in the year. Had a rocky year at Washington, and is projected to go kind of late first, early second round. I know him. I went to high school with him. He's a senator at Washington. Great guy. And I'm not just saying that because I whatever, because I went to high school with him. But I think he sneaks into the first round. I think he sneaks into the first round, maybe to the Knicks late at 27. Obviously, we saw the Lakers trade their pick to the Thunder with the 28th pick earlier today as Dennis Schroeder finds his way into LA. Maybe he lands there. You know, I'm just saying I want him to go in the first round pretty much regardless of where he goes. I just want to be able to say that I went to high school with an NBA first round draft pick.
That would be sick. And even just to say like he's in the NBA, it would be awesome as it is.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not going to talk about the LA trade. I'm not happy with the Lakers. I don't think it was a good trade for them. But we're not going to get to that. You know, you don't give up Danny Green, in my opinion. But let's get to the draft. LaMelo Ball, I don't think he's going to go number 1. I do not think he's going to get drafted number 1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. His demeanor and his outlook, his personality, his character is not going to fit in Minnesota. LaMelo Ball is going to have to go somewhere to a big marketplace because I don't trust LaMelo Ball. If I'm the Minnesota GM, I don't trust LaMelo Ball's demeanor. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to go after him like it's not personal. It's just like he doesn't want to go there. Like he doesn't want to go there. I'm sure like, you know, I'm talking on behalf of LaMelo. It's like he doesn't want to go to a small marketplace. He wants to go to a bigger market. Minnesota is like one of the worst markets. One of the, you know, it's so coldy and it's snowstorms. I remember I was talking to someone, you know, and then it gets like negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit sometimes. It's true. They have like their They're cold winters. It's true. LaMelo Ball is not going to go. He's not going to go to Minnesota at number one. He might even slip further in the draft because he's been tanking the interviews apparently. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he's tanking it to go to New York, but that's besides the point. I think Golden State will draft James Wiseman. I don't think they will trade James Wiseman. I do believe the Golden State Warriors will retain that pick. I think they're going to help out Draymond Green right now defensively, and they want to establish someone, big force inside to join Draymond Green. I'm not saying they're not going to trade him later, but in terms of specifically on draft night, I don't believe that they're going to draft. I think they're going to draft James Wiseman, but they're not going to trade him on draft night. Maybe later on in the season, as the season wanes, then we'll see some trades circulating, some trade rumors with Draymond Green, James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins. But I do believe that five, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and James Wiseman, that five will be playing on opening night. In terms of the third pick, Charlotte Hornets are going to pick LaMelo Ball. He's going to slip to the Charlotte Hornets. And if I'm Michael Jordan, I'm the owner of Charlotte, you have to go big. You have to go big. You don't go big by trading for Russell Westbrook. It makes absolutely no sense. He's out now. He's in his prime, leaving his prime. You draft young. You get LaMelo Ball, who's oozing with potential. And worst case scenario, he's a bust. The best case scenario, he could be a superstar and be a future, building block for your franchise. So I think it's overall, number one is going to be Anthony Edwards. Number two, James Wiseman. Number three, LaMelo Ball.
I think it's interesting because I think LaMelo might actually do better in a place like Minnesota. Obviously, Charlotte's a small market as well. But
at least you're in North Carolina, though. You're chilling a little bit. It's not like Minnesota. It's like that's a huge extreme. Minnesota, I'd rather live in North Carolina than Minnesota.
What are you talking about? Just simply because of weather?
Yeah, I mean, it's bad, bro. It's bad. Like we don't think much about it because we live in New York. It's like, oh, you're really not going to go somewhere because of weather. But the day-to-day operation, Ian, trust me, you're going to want to be in a nice warm place. You're not going to want to live in negative 60 degrees temperature, especially when you already are on the record, with questions about you surrounding, like, if you don't want to play in like a small market. You only want to play in Los Angeles and New York. So Minnesota's like the opposite extreme. It's like Cleveland. It's getting like Cleveland.
You're thinking you're mixing LaMelo up with LeVar. I don't think LaMelo ever said anything like this. I think this is LeVar.
No. He's closer to LeVar than Lonzo. Lonzo Ball, I agree with you. Lonzo Ball is very humble. LaMelo Ball, I don't know.
And LaMelo said that these things that his dad are saying are not true for him. And maybe he's just saying that for looks. But I think LaMelo more or less just wants to fly out under the radar, kind of like Lonzo's doing right now. And just kind of, like take a step back and not seem as if he's he doesn't want to be the diva that the media may portray him because of his dad. So, we'll see. But I think LaMelo is better in a small destination like Charlotte or Minnesota rather than a place like LA or New York, which LA or New York are not going to be able to get him unless New York trades up. So, I think regardless of where he goes, unless he goes to Chicago at 4, he'll be in a small market, and I think that's his best spot. I'm interested, though, to see where Obi Toppin goes because, yes, he is
Obi Toppin.
Yeah, ain't no stopping Obi Toppin. And he's 23 years old, I believe, and he's a really good prospect. But are you gonna pick him with the 5th overall pick? We saw a couple years ago, or I guess almost 10 years ago at this point, Damian Lillard, who I think was 23 as a rookie, came out and was drafted. Was, I believe, the 6th overall pick, and obviously that panned out. So we'll see. If teams are gonna think age is too much of a factor to be drafted high. So I think that's gonna be interesting. If a team like maybe Atlanta, who feels like they have their core set, goes for a guy like Obi, trying to add potentially an all-star that'll be an all-star sooner rather than later.
I mean, I don't think that we're stopping Obi Toppin, but I do think that LaMelo Ball is going to stop, he's going to try and stop the Minnesota Timberwolves from drafting him. I really do believe that. I don't know. Because, listen, if you're in Minnesota also, you're going to, just know this, Ian. This is fact. This is reality. LaMelo Ball is not spending his entire career in Minnesota. And I know, you can make the argument that no player will spend their entire career now in today's day and age. But out of any player, you have a way better chance with, an Anthony Edwards or a James Wiseman or any of those other players. LaMelo Ball is literally, the last player that you would want to draft to a small market place. So that's my argument there. Also, I want to use Damian Lillard in an example because you said that, obviously he was drafted to Portland and he's from Weber State. He was humble. He wasn't like from a big time college. He wasn't from Kentucky or a Duke. So I believe that you have to have a certain ego to go to like a small market team like Portland. And if Minnesota can find that small ego player, you might be able to have a chance at building something there in Minnesota instead of going after LaMelo Ball. That's all. That's all I'm saying with LaMelo Ball.
I don't disagree, but I don't know what LaMelo Ball's ego is. I don't know if it's him or his dad's ego at this point. Like, it is interesting. We'll see if he's okay with going to a smaller destination. And I think he may be now. But, I mean, obviously, as we saw, like, years ago when KG went to the Timberwolves, seemed like everything was great. And then, 5-6 years in, he was like, I can't keep playing here, right? So your personality is going to change when you're 19 to when you're 30. So, you're right. I do think LaMelo Ball probably won't spend his career in Minnesota if he's drafted there. But right now, as I'm going off, I wouldn't blame him for wanting to fly under the radar and go to a small market team like Minnesota.
That's very true. We'll see what happens. I do think also, aside from egos and personalities, I do believe that there's a case for Anthony Edwards to go number 1 overall. He can shoot. He can shoot. He's a bona fide scorer. Might be one of the best scorers in this draft alongside LaMelo Ball. Anthony Edwards has lots of potential, and I think I can really see him fit alongside D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns. Also, obviously, he likes to compare himself to Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade gave him the validation back, saying that, I accept this comparison with Anthony Edwards. So I'm excited because I think Anthony Edwards has tremendous athleticism, and he could also shoot from the three-point line, mid-range. And when he gets hot, you're not stopping him. There's no stopping. I know there's no stopping Obi Toppin, but when Anthony Edwards is hot, there's no stopping Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Edwards is a great prospect. He'll likely go in the top 3. So, again, I think this is a pretty good draft class, especially at the top of the draft. So, it'll be interesting. I think the top 4, top 5 guys, it'll really come down to possibly just fit with each team. And I think you're right. Anthony Edwards probably would fit very well in Minnesota. So, it is going to be – I think trades will come in, especially for teams like Golden State. And maybe even Atlanta, I think, with 6. And New York might be one of those teams that's looking to trade up. So, we'll see. It's going to be really interesting. I love the NBA draft just because of, like, just so many moves happen, right? And it can be predictable who's being picked, but it's not necessarily so predictable that who's going to be picking those players.
I think it'd be so interesting to see, like, all like our previous segments join together, seeing like a James Harden Russell Westbrook trade centered around the draft, and watching Houston go into the top 5 in this year's NBA draft, selecting like a LaMelo Ball or Anthony Edwards or James Wiseman. I don't think that you can rule that out, guys. I don't think that you can rule out the Houston Rockets making their way into the top 3 and making a gigantic trade on trade night. Because on draft night, think about it. Like, Russell Westbrook and James Harden are major all-stars. They're major players. So if you wait till after the draft, like, you might get someone okay, but you can now make a trade during draft night and get one of these, top draft picks now oozing with potential. So I think that's one of my dark horse predictions. The Houston Rockets go in with the Warriors or the Hornets or the Timberwolves, and they make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. That would be a really crazy trade, and I think it is certainly possible. If you're going to make a move, it'll probably be in the draft. So,
exactly. Final, one sentence each. Ian, we have to, one sentence trade prediction. Or any kind of draft prediction. Number 1, Anthony Edwards. Number 2, James Wiseman. Number 3, LaMelo Ball. Ian, one sentence.
Number 1, LaMelo Ball. 2, Edwards. 3, Wiseman. 27th, Stewart.
Oh,
you're gonna be thankful next year that I put you under Isaiah's shirt when he's averaging 20 points for the.
And Knicks. Listen, Ian, I'll be so thankful, but then it won't matter because in 2 or 3 years the Knicks will do what they do best and trade their young players because we haven't signed a rookie to their second deal since like I was born, I think, or maybe my dad. Who knows? It's been over 20 years. It's terrible. Now there are reports about R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson on the trade block for the Knicks to move up. Look, that could have been fake news or whatever, but man, I can't. I'm done. I'm done, man. These Knicks, they're killing me. They never fail to agonize me, Ian. You know this, and I don't know why I'm still a New York Knicks fan, but I'm here and I try my best, and I'm a good person, I think. But so I don't know why they're so bad. Anyway, guys, on that note, on that New York Knicks depressing note, appreciate you guys watching today. Check us out next week for another episode. I know I've been slacking a little bit with the episodes. I've been really busy. I've had a lot of work. You know, me and Ian, we're busy people. So we'll get back next week. Bills game's coming up. Hopefully they lose. Hopefully they win. Hopefully they don't lose. Hopefully they don't lose. You know, I'm nice to Ian. You know, I mean, they're not like a New York team, but you know,
they're the only football team that plays in New York. They're the only football team that plays in New York, but that's okay. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Peace.